Good morning. Welcome everybody to our online webinar with HP. My name is Rodney Featherstone, the head of commercial at PB Tech, and we're here to teach you today. The purpose of this half-hour session is to work with HP and the team here to make sure that you're well aware of all the features that you've got available to you, or at least one of them that we're focusing on today. It's as we've gone through our relationship with our customers over the years, we've identified that often some of the tools that HP provide are underutilized. And it's really important from PB's perspective that we work with you to make sure that you're making use of all the tools that you've got available. And so I'm joined on the call today by Justin Peters and Iris. Iris from PB and Justin from HP. So it's a half-hour session, and we are recording this, so we'll make that available to other customers that couldn't make the session. I'd encourage you to ask questions throughout via chat. I'll be answering some questions of Justin at the end of the session. And the person with the best questions, we've got a couple of prizes to give away. So I'd encourage you to get involved. Please don't speak. I've tried to make it not available for speaking, but I'm not very good at Teams, so I might have made a mistake there. So I'd encourage you just to use the text, and I will read out the questions at the end. We're going to keep this to a 30-minute session, and as you all know, we've got another one in a week's time on another piece of the HP Wolf security stack. So Justin, with that, I'll hand over to you, and let's go.
Terrific. Thanks, Rodney. And hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. Please let me know if you can hear me okay and see my slides.
We can.
So, we had a session with Rodney and some of his colleagues a little while ago where we just wanted to refocus on some of the differentiators from a security context that we offer at HP. My role, I'm the Wolf security specialist, so I work across all of these technologies. The one that we're focused on today is the third pillar, hardware enforced isolation. As Rodney mentioned, there's another session next week. We're going to talk about Wolf Connect, so I won't touch on that today. So hardware enforced isolation. What is the problem that we're trying to solve with this technology? So I think it's fairly agreed that the endpoint PC is where the security battleground happens. You know, it's where people, data, and the internet meet. And because of that, it's a focus for cyber attackers, specifically an attack technique of social engineering, where, you know, the idea is to get a web link or a file executed on the device by the user or the owner of that device, so tricking them into launching the attack. And typically, these techniques will kick off either phishing or ransomware attacks, which obviously front of mind, cause a lot of damage. And so the technology I'm talking about today, our SureClick technology, is specifically there to protect against these social engineering attacks. Now, how do the threats get to the PC? Through email and web, right? So no doubt you're scanning your email, you've got policies in place there as to what can get through. Similarly, you'll be doing some web filtering as well. Unfortunately, and these stats are from our deployment of SureClick across the globe, is that, you know, these threats are still getting through and being executed. And really, you know, there's a constant, you know, battle of getting through these filters. And indeed, you know, we know that a lot is blocked, but a lot is still getting through. And once that threat is on your device, you know, no doubt you're using things like antivirus and endpoint detection and response. Yeah, the antivirus is good at recognizing known threats and blocking them, so it's great to have that there. And the EDR tools, it might be something you're running in-house, or it might be a managed service. That's really providing you visibility of the stuff that's been missed by all of the other filters and gives you some capabilities to respond to that. But if you're responding to an alert in your EDR, something bad has potentially already occurred. And then, the last line of defense, sometimes called the human firewall, just having a bit of a joke here. We run cybersecurity awareness training internally at HP, as I'm sure most of your organizations will have some kind of training and policies around what you should and shouldn't be doing. That's all well and good. But these threats are very sophisticated. They're smart. They're mature. We're all busy. It's pretty easy to when you're busy to make that mistake and click on something that you shouldn't. So really, this technology, SureClick, kind of challenges. Is the human firewall the last line of defense? It doesn't have to be. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is a technology we refer to as threat containment or isolation. So what we're doing is providing access to the file or the web link, but in a safe way. So in the event that it is malicious, it's not able to infect your PC. It can't compromise Windows. It can't steal your data. It can't encrypt your data. Right. So it's protection that's not reliant on detection. So all of those technologies we just sort of stepped through that you'll be using in combination to stop threats getting to your devices, they're all using, scanning engines, filtering engines, logic engines, which try to determine whether the thing is good or bad. And just mathematically, they can't be right all of the time, and that's where the gap occurs. Threat containment technology is different. It's not relying upon threat intelligence. It's not relying upon updates or machine learning, AI, things like that. It's actually using virtualization, right? So, we'd be familiar with virtualizing, a whole operating system for a server or an application like a Citrix. What this technology does is it virtualizes the user clicks. So when the user clicks on that email link or a file on a USB key or a web link, we open it, but it's not opened in Windows. It's actually opened in a micro virtual machine or container. And in that way, we use basically the hardware chipsets to provide that hardware enforced barrier between what you see in the micro VM and Windows. Now, technologies mature, so it came via way of an acquisition. HP purchased an endpoint security startup called Bromium about 5 years ago. Bromium had been going for about 5 years before that. So there's been organizations leveraging this technology, in anger in the wild for about 10 years. Essentially, that Bromium team, hypervisor specialists that have worked on some pretty big virtualization implementations for some of the cloud giants, and then realized that they could use the technology in a different way to protect users on their device. So once the solution is deployed and activated, it protects you anytime, anywhere. It's all done on the device. It's not connecting out to the cloud for assistance and things like that. And in terms of how an organization or individual can get access to this technology and use it, it comes in a few different flavors. There's Wolf Security for Business, Wolf Pro, and SureClick Enterprise. The core technology, like the superpower, is the same across all of them, being SureClick, providing this threat containment. Now, Wolf Security for Business is included in most of our commercial devices. So, majority of the Pro books, the Elite books, and Z books. I'm going to give you a bit of a demo of how this technology can protect you against threats. And I'm going to use that Wolf Security for Business version, which is the one which if you've got one of those devices, you've got entitlement to run that. So we're going to do a demo so you can sort of see it, feel it, and then after that, I'm just going to talk about some of the where to get it if you're not sure if you're running it today, and then some options around central management, which you get with the Pro and Enterprise versions. So I think I'm at my demo slide. So, so I've got my Windows 11 machine here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up a couple of things that we do every day, right? You know, when it comes to the human firewall, it's a little bit of an unusual concept because on one way you're saying, hey, be really careful about all the stuff you open on your device, but a lot of our job descriptions mean that we're constantly called upon to open up, you know, Word documents, PDFs, and web links that are sent to us by customers, suppliers, partners, etc. So let's kick off with web link. Okay, so I just go ahead and I click on it. Right, I'm busy. I'm not really sort of thinking too much about it. As you can see, I've clicked on my link. I can view the web page. Everything is fine. Okay, now I'm going to also open up, say, an email attachment. Right, so Word document. Now, unfortunately for me, this Word document is malicious. And the system has recognized that it's malicious as well, which is great. And it said here that, you know, we've isolated this. It's come from the internet. We're not really sure, you know, whether it's legitimate or not. In this case, it's not. And we were able to recognize that it isn't. But saying that our smarts within the micro VM hadn't identified it as malicious, we would still be protected because it's running in a micro VM. Now I'm just going to open up a utility that I use for demos. Here we go, Live View. So this isn't something that regular users care about or open up. This is something that we use for demonstrations to explain what the technology is doing. Think of it as Task Manager for Wolf Security. And what it's telling me here is that these two windows, as much as from my perspective as a user, it's just a window open in Windows 11. The content which is being rendered is actually running in these hardware isolated virtual machines. And so what that means is that if that web page that I went to, right, I clicked on that link, someone wanted me to go there, I clicked on it. If there was some malicious web server there trying to compromise my machine, it would be unable to. Similarly, the ransomware that came through via email that I opened, I can actually copy and paste stuff, you know, text, you know, non-malicious stuff out of it if I really wanted to. But I'm protected from the payload. So does the ransomware think that it's running in Windows? Yes. Does it think that its attack was successful? Yes, it does. It doesn't know that it's in the micro VM. And of course, as soon as I close those windows, right, the attack is gone, and so the device is protected. Now, this particular machine is running Wolf Security for Business. Okay, so the version that comes with the perpetual license when you bought those commercial PCs. So, you know, if you're interested in taking a look at this technology, I'll cover a little bit later how you can get access to that entitlement. How are we able to do this? We're basically using the virtualization extensions that are built into, you know, your modern day CPUs, so both Intel and AMD. Good question would be, where's the ARM or the Qualcomm based version? That gets released later this month as well. Right? So for all modern devices, you can run this technology, no worries. Now, with Wolf Security for Business, you could see that as an end user, I didn't have to do anything different. Okay, I just point and click, right? And I've got that additional safety net or airbag for the internet protecting me for something that could go wrong. Worth noting as well, a lot of security filters, those other technologies that we were talking about, when they block malicious stuff, great, but when they block legitimate stuff, it can be really painful. This technology isn't going to block your users from opening the stuff that they want. So, you don't have that potential of service desk calls going, hey, why can't I get access to this thing? I could open it last week. What's the problem? That type of thing. It will provide access, but safely, right? So you can't compromise your device or impact your organization. Now, let's move on. So that was Wolf Security for Business. It comes preloaded in some of our images. Understand, obviously, that not everyone uses our Windows images with the bundle software. So we will cover off in the next slide where you can get that. So, if you're thinking, yeah, I wouldn't mind having a play around with this and see how it works from a user perspective. But I've loaded my own image, or I do my own Windows build, right? So that stuff that was added into the image before the device shipped is now gone. Where do I get that back? We'll cover that in a second. Now, I've got what I would call customers who are running all of these different versions. So Wolf Security for Business that we looked at, and then also Pro Security and Enterprise. And so I'll just talk a little bit about why you would look at the Pro or the Enterprise version as an upgrade to Wolf Security for Business. It's the same technology doing the protection, same SureClick technology. It's just different features are bundled with the different tiered version. And the biggest difference is that when you go to Pro or Enterprise, you get a management controller. So you've got a single place where you can see activity of the solution across all of your devices. And also you can set policies centrally, which, as you start to have a certain number of devices, that becomes something that organizations tend to want to have a central management controller of some type. So with Wolf Pro Security, there is a cloud SaaS delivered HP hosted controller that can be used. Wolf Pro Security, we also throw in next gen antivirus as well. Wolf Pro Security, I would say, is for the mature SMBs and larger, right? SureClick Enterprise is for the organizations that are at a security maturity level where they've got AV, they've got EDR either managed in-house or as a service, they've got web filters, they've got email filters. They just want the isolation piece to provide that extra protection after the human firewall. Now, Wolf Security for Business. I should mention that the Wolf Pro Security version has been undergoing AV test, independent testing for some time now, scoring a top product as well. So if you're interested in looking at that option, we can supply you with that information. You can, see that the independent test labs rate the addition of this isolation technology in stopping threats on the endpoint. And then finally, before we've sort of go into to a bit of Q&A, where do we get HP Wolf Security for Business? You're running your own image. The software agent is no longer there. How do I get it back to take a look at it? If you go on one of your devices to the HP drivers page, right, it goes, there's a wizard which steps through, which automatically detects your type of device, it then asks you what version of Windows you're running. You pop that in, and then it gives you a list of downloads. It's where you get the BIOS updates and the driver updates from. There's a software security section, and you can see HP Wolf Security for Business will be there. So you can download it from there. It's an MSI that you run. It'll do the install, and you'll be ready to go. The just in terms of those, business, pro, and enterprise. Okay, so when it comes down to this business version, I've got my dad running this because I want him to be as protected as he can be when he's on the internet. I've also got there's a few sort of micro SMB customers that I know personally that are using this as well. When it comes to the pro version with the central management, it's really sort of SMB and up. Actually, the largest deployment of Wolf Pro that I've worked with the customer is in New Zealand. They've got upwards of 400 devices. You're using Wolf Pro now with the central management. And then when you look at the enterprise version, I think the largest customer that I've been involved with on a project for that, they've got 27,000 devices. Pretty big for our neck of the woods. But if I look at some of my US colleagues, I think the top two deployments are pushing up to 100,000 devices as well. And around that enterprise piece, we of course run it internally at HP ourselves, and we're running that alongside a whole bunch of other security agents from the other trusted security vendors that you'd be aware of.
Excellent. We've got some questions here, Justin, and we've got 8 minutes to go. So are you okay if I fire you through a few questions?
I'll do my best.
Firstly, in terms of deployment, if you've wiped the image and you don't have it anymore and you want to deploy it, can you use tools like SCCM and Intune to deploy this application back onto the desktops?
Yes, you certainly can. We've got a knowledge base article on how to do that. So it's just an MSI. So Intune or SCCM or any of those different types of tools, anything that can drop the MSI and run it with, admin rights to install software, you can use that to push it out. Yeah.
Excellent. Our next question is, safe applications like OneDrive or SharePoint or internal pre-authorized links that are happening. Does the tool still work with those kinds of business applications? Is it only external, or does it work with internal as well?
It definitely works with internal as well. One of the advantages that you get when you go to the central management, either pro or enterprise, is you can specify config where certain domains are trusted, right? So if you don't do that, it's just going to apply it to all of your clicks. Some customers say, the content that I create internally, just open it in the regular tools like Office tools or your default browser. So we can put in config to say content from those domains is safe and trusted. Don't isolate it.
Next question is this: the impact of system processing on other AV tools that you might have, whether it be Defender or Sophos or CrowdStrike as a couple of the examples here. Are those tools going to get their knickers in a twist and start to overload the CPU and the resources on the device?
If you're going to run this with other security tools, then you tell the other security tools not to scan our application. So
you exclude the VMs, the micro VMs from scanning.
when I when I started at HP, probably about 4 years ago, I had a few calls initially with customers that had performance issues, and they basically came down to, hey, I've installed CrowdStrike or Sentinel-1 or Sophos, and it started scanning the Wolf Security for Business that's in the image. And the way to get them to play nicely and coexist is you tell the AV or EDR tool, hey, I'm running Wolf Security for Business, don't scan the micro VMs.
If you're running an email tool that takes a link from an external source and then converts it into a safe link, does that safe link then get opened in a micro VM as well, or does that safe link just go straight to the default browser in your experience?
If you're using Wolf Security for Business, the way that I set it up today, it is going to open that safe link within our secure browser. There is a configuration policy item when you use Pro or Enterprise where you can basically define what you want to happen. So, we use a URL rewrite feature in Mimecast, and internally, and I have a policy that sets up which can say, hey, if it's already been safe linked by Mimecast, just open it in the default browser and ignore Wolf Security. You can do either way with the config.
I'm assuming that if you get a link to say, open your new your payroll balance and put in your username and password into a fake website, and you've given away your credentials to a third party, this product is not going to stop that behavior. Is that correct?
Wolf Pro and SureClick Enterprise would. They have a feature called credential protection. So it's like a kind of a secondary feature to isolation. And what that does is whether you're using our secure browser or Chrome, Firefox, or Edge, it uses an extension. And and what it's looking for is someone typing in a username and password. If you do that, into a domain which is a known phishing domain, or even, like the domain's only been around for a day or something like that, you can configure it to block that post or throw up a warning, whatever you want to do. So for that act of I've taken the bait, I've clicked, now I'm going to give them my credentials. Wolf Pro and SureClick Enterprise credential protection would stop the user from doing that.
And I'm assuming you can whitelist the only organizations that you allow your staff to type their credentials into, rather than blacklisting others. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct, and definitely, something that I recommend to customers that are using credential protection. It's like, hey, instead of relying upon, hey, can we spot the new phishing domain? Why don't we just move to an allow list, right? And so it's like you can authenticate on these domains. Job done.
Excellent. The last question before we wrap up and keep to the half hour is, when you were opening and doing your demo there, it looked pretty fast. What's the overhead in terms of performance and delays and all of those kinds of things, and impact to user?
Great question. Look, I mean, when you do a demo, you definitely want it to look as best you can and snappy as you can. The device that I'm running at the moment is the G9. It's got 16 gig of RAM, so it's good, but it's not anything super special. It it really comes down to what else is running on the device and how heavily utilized it is. So I've got some customers in Asian markets that are running with 8 gig of RAM on older devices than a G9, and they can use that. The number one thing which impacts performance in using this tool is if you let your antivirus scan it, right? That anytime I ever have a question about that, it's 99% of the time, it's always down to, oh, we forgot to do that configuration, right? So in terms of the minimum specs, we say 8 gig of RAM on the device. Recommended is 16. put it this way, Teams is hungrier for resources than this solution is. Proof of the pudding is always in testing it though, right? So, in terms of lag, I'm running across lots of different devices, the Business Pro and Enterprise, and it doesn't really slow me down. But yeah, the proof of the pudding is give it a shot. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Justin. Well, we'll wrap it up there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. In terms of next steps, we'll be in touch with you with some white papers and some information on some of the security behind this tool. Brad, you had a question about what actually makes it run and how secure is it, so we'll give you that information. In terms of getting access to more information on this tool, please email procurement@pbtech.co.nz. We will give you a lot more information about it and work with you one-on-one to make sure that you're making the use of these tools. But hope today's been helpful, and hope to see you next week at the other session, part 2. And thank you very much for attending, and I wish you a great day.
Thanks, everyone.